welcome back to BLOCKTV. Now, a storm is swirling through the cryptosphere, a battle for control of the esteemed persona Satoshi Nakamoto, the enigmatic creator of Bitcoin. Enter in Craig Wright, a well-known Australian computer scientist, businessman, and self-proclaimed Satoshi, coming out swinging against his detractors, firing off a series of demands and threatening legal action against those who speak out against his claim. Right at the center of this controversy, we find one such detractor, Peter McCormack, the host of What Bitcoin Did podcast. And he joins us now on BLOCKTV. Peter, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
Very good. All right, so to kick things off, April 12, you tweet, "I believe that claiming to be Satoshi and promoting a fake version of Bitcoin is fraudulent. I believe this is in the public interest. Let's go to court." Tell us, what prompted you to say that, and what was the sort of thinking behind tweeting out such a claim?
So I was aware of somebody else in the community who'd already been served with papers with a list of demands and a list of claims. So the claims were that Craig Wright is Satoshi, and these demands were kind of crazy, really, almost laughable, that that the person remove all critical tweets and then tweet that they are Satoshi, that he is Satoshi, and that they go to court and admit this. It was the kind of strangest thing I've seen, and quite sociopathic, I thought. But I felt like this needed to be out in the public domain. So I provoked Craig and Calvin. I put out the statements and wanted to be served myself with papers, which I've now been done. And now I want to go to court to have this settled once for all, because Craig Wright clearly is not Satoshi Nakamoto. He is a fraud, and he's an absolute moron. And for once and for all, this needs dealing with, because they are leading people up the garden path, having them invest in a version of Bitcoin which is fake and rubbish and useless, based on the belief that they think this guy's Satoshi Nakamoto. He is not Satoshi Nakamoto. Let's get in a courtroom and let's deal with this once and for all.
All right, so CZ, the CEO of Binance, pointed out in a tweet just yesterday that the real Satoshi can digitally sign any message and simply prove that it's him. It's as simple as breathing for him or her. We have the public key. I mean, is there anything that Craig Wright could do that would prove to you that he is Satoshi, if that was indeed possible?
I don't know. What I can tell you is having the private keys and signing a transaction does not prove it to me as well. I can steal my neighbor's keys and drive their car and come and visit you and claim it's my car, but it's not my car. I stole the keys. I don't believe that. The interesting thing, though, is that as somebody wants to claim that they're Satoshi, that is the best thing they could do. You know, if he was to sign a transaction with Satoshi's keys, that would obviously give a little more, or quite a substantial amount of credibility to his claim. He's never done it. He's produced lots of weird and other examples of evidence and gives reasons not to do it. And the reason he gives not to do it is because he doesn't have the private keys. Okay, they don't exist. If he did, he would do it. He just lives on a typical fraud's manifesto, which is to perpetuate a lie and to have that certain amount of doubt, to, for whatever reason, whether it's grandiose reasons or whether it's to defraud people by generating returns from him on his fake fork coin. But he is not Satoshi Nakamoto. Even if he signed with the private keys, I would not believe him. I think he's a moron, and I think it's about time we prove it once for all in a court of law that he is not Satoshi.
But then, Peter, I got to ask, I mean, so many people have come out. I mean, many have come out in support of your actions, but others have said that you're simply feeding the trolls here, that by taking this action and suggesting court and bringing it out into the public sphere. I mean, we've already seen how this whole topic has blown up around the crypto sphere, becoming one of the top headlines of the last week, and we can see how long this goes on. Is this not simply a case of giving air to a story that should otherwise have been a one and done and moved on?
Well, I wonder how many of those people who have said that also have read Nassim Taleb's book, where he said, let me just get the quote for you. Mm-hmm. This is useful. So 1 second. Okay. Bear with me. Okay. I often get criticized for my guests and been told they're frauds. Well, a lot of people have read Nassim Taleb's book, Skin in the Game, and he says, if you see a fraud and do not say fraud, you are a fraud. So what do people want? I think the most important thing here is that if you look at somebody, I don't see very much difference between someone like Craig Wright and Bernie Madoff, himself a fraudster, himself who conned people out of billions of dollars, which ultimately led to the deaths of 4 people and made misery on people's lives. I think Craig Wright will inflict misery on people's lives by convincing them to invest in a terrible, useless version of Bitcoin with his fraudulent lies about being Satoshi Nakamoto. Therefore, this needs dealing with. And look what's happened. Look at the response yesterday. They've been delisted by Binance. Okay, they've been delisted by Shapeshift. It looks like they might be delisted by Kraken. They've been delisted. I saw another exchange. They've been removed from the blockchain.info wallet. What's happening now is a reaction to this fraudulent claims that have been perpetuated for years. And finally, and hopefully, we're going to get rid of this moron from the crypto space and his moronic lies that we have had to put up with for years.
All right, but I want to talk about that delisting, actually. That comes right to the fore of it, because that's where a sort of war of words turns into a war of deeds. And I wonder, I mean, there are many have come out in the wake of that delisting on Binance, Shapeshifter, and even the discussions that are happening on Kraken, that they've said that this amounts to a form of censorship, that because a certain personality is disliked, that the technology is being sidelined. Now, no doubt that Bitcoin SV has had trouble in the past, but the timing of this clearly shows that there's a connection to the current things that are happening. I mean, where does a site like Binance go from being a platform for people to exchange various coins to a curator of what's available and what's acceptable within the public domain?
Well, what about the other 1,500 coins that are on CoinMarketCap that they haven't listed? You know, they're a business. They have a choice to list the coins that they want or don't want to, and they have a choice to react to customer demands and customer responses. They've had overwhelming response from customers saying they want the coin delisted, and that's what companies do. If you go to a supermarket and they start listing something like a product, say we had a problem in the UK, say with certain products maybe from the farming industry, where maybe they don't look after the animal welfare enough, and the customers can complain and those products can be delisted. That is exactly what's happening here. They have freedom of choice to respect what the customers think. Also, this isn't just a disagreement about who might have invented Bitcoin, which was somebody put out yesterday. This is a guy who is fraudulently claiming to be Satoshi Nakamoto. Therefore, he's instilling the belief in these people that he created Bitcoin, and therefore, what he says is law. Therefore, if he says the current Bitcoin isn't fit for purpose and people should buy into Bitcoin SV, he's fraudulently convincing people to do that. I absolutely support every exchange that have delisted it. I commend them for it, and I hope everyone else does it soon, because this guy is a fraud and a moron.
All right, let's step this back a bit and talk a little bit about the philosophical question behind this, which is, does it matter who Satoshi Nakamoto is and people claiming to it? I mean, isn't the whole point of Bitcoin, the initial project, that it's supposed to be a decentralized currency, moving away from the sort of ego playing and ego politics that have dogged so many financial institutions in the past? I mean, is it not something that's sort of being unnecessarily blown out of proportion?
Well, so it's 2 separate points there. Firstly, I completely agree. I don't think it does matter who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Actually, somebody got in touch with me yesterday and said they're making a documentary where they're going to talk about and explain who it is, which I think is firstly doxing and 2 unnecessary. Satoshi Nakamoto gave us a gift, made a decision to disappear from the public eye and should be left alone. Also, Bitcoin is so different now from when Satoshi was here. You know, it's a completely different project. Even if Satoshi came back, I don't think he would just be immediately welcomed as having this God-given right to decide what happens with Bitcoin. I think he would have to earn his right back into the project. I mean, of course, he would be respected, but it's not now. Bitcoin is built based on consensus now. So no, it doesn't matter. I even wrote about this. I wrote about this in my Medium blog. It doesn't matter who Satoshi is anymore. But what it does matter is if someone is claiming to be him fraudulently to sell something. Now, that's a different point. So no, it doesn't matter who Satoshi is unless someone is fraudulently claiming to be that person.
All right. Fair enough, I guess. So now, turning more towards the personal side of things, so Calvin Ayre has continuing to aid Craig Wright, of course, launching a doxing campaign to try and find out who the hodlnaut is through his website, CoinGeek. Now, looking at you, I mean, you've now been brought into this. You're now a keen player on the side, obviously, against Calvin Ayre and Craig Wright. I mean, do you have any fears for, I guess, doxing is less relevant in your case, but certainly threats or concerns about you either from a legal or personal safety matter?
No, I don't. I'm perfectly fine with that. And look, I think Calvin Ayre is either somebody else who has been duped or is part of a fraud. He's one of he's one of the two. He's either been defrauded himself, or he is a fraud. And he's had a lot of his criticisms as well. You know, he's uploaded lots of pictures with him of him with young girls, and he recently settled the case. Now, I've never called Calvin Ayre a paedophile because there was no evidence for that. I would stick based on Calvin Ayre, particularly on what he's doing with relation to Craig Wright. What Craig Wright has done, which is wrong, what Calvin has done, which is wrong, is offer bounties to dox someone. That's totally scumbag. In the world of Bitcoin, people choose to become anonymous because of their, wanting to protect themselves, because it is a risky place to be doxed. And he's offered up a reward to do that. So he's a scumbag based on that. And obviously, I'm willing to go to court with both of them and deal with this in a court of law, so this is dealt with once and for all. Because they're both scumbags and morons.
I just want to clarify, by the way, you're still maintaining you're not calling Calvin Ayre a paedophile here on BLOCKTV?
I've never called Calvin Ayre a paedophile. I've never once called Calvin Ayre a paedophile because I have no proof that he is a paedophile.
Okay, fair enough. So now,
and I would never call him a paedophile because that's unfair also on him, and it's unfair on the people he's been in pictures with. So to call him a paedophile without any evidence that he's a paedophile would be totally wrong.
All right, so to be clear, Peter McCormack not calling Calvin Ayre a paedophile on BLOCKTV. All right, so, but you do agree that he is a scumbag, correct?
Oh, he's a piece of shit.
Okay, but not a paedophile. All right, so now... Okay, so now in your response letter that you sent back against Craig Wright, lauded by many, including Caesar himself, said solidified your legendary status, many said. Plenty of tongue-in-cheek references there. What was the inspiration for some of the top lines? I was a particular fan of your relationship to where there's smoke, there's fire, enough to make Mordor feel like a holiday in Iceland.
Oh, it's just a response to how ludicrous the papers they've issued out are, and how ludicrous their claims are, and ludicrous their demands are. So I met with them with something that was equally ludicrous, and shows how little, how I don't take them serious at all. They're not going to go to court, and they're not going to go to court for they're not going to go to court for one reason only. They're going to lose. If they go to court, there is a mountain of evidence that Craig Wright is both a fraud and not Satoshi. If they go to court, they will lose this case. And when they lose this case, that ends Craig Wright's ability to perpetuate this lie anymore, because he will be proven in a court of law that he is not Satoshi, and he'll be proven in a court of law that he is a fraud. Okay? Hopefully, if it does happen, he will end up in prison like he should be, because he is a fraud. But they're not going to go to that because they've got too much to lose. I've got nothing to lose. What can they take from me? They can lose everything, so they're definitely not going to go to court. But yeah, I met it with an equal ludicrous nature. I mean, I did read their response on the things they were asking of me, and I did think, Rolfcopter, you utterly ridiculous people. I did think no. I did think jog on. I did think you utter Burks. So yeah, let's go to court. Fully happy to.
Right, fair enough, but it's interesting to say you characterize it that you have nothing to lose, and I understand. I mean, your pinned Twitter post describes your rise and fall through the world of Bitcoin through the bull and bear markets that occurred. But I would be interested to know, I mean, maybe not just you, but also generally, there are some who have something to gain from this situation, even in being against Craig Wright. For example, the crowdfunding campaign to support HODLerNaut's legal battle against Craig Wright has been set up. The We Are All HODLerNaut campaign, last estimates over $28,000 raised. And yet, as you say, there are currently no legal fees, and in all likelihood, probably won't be legal fees for a considerable time. Is there a risk that people might profiteer off this situation?
So that's not true. HODLerNaut has incurred legal fees because he's taken legal advice. Okay, so he has actually has got direct legal support now, which he is paying for. So yes, he has that. By the way, I would have no problem in the world with HODLerNaut keeping that money based on almost like a bounty for what he's been put through. But my understanding is, maybe the money which isn't used for legal fees will then go towards this Venezuelan charity, but I would have to confirm that. I've not asked for a penny. I don't want a penny off anyone. Okay, at the moment, I'm waiting right now to see if this does go to court. If it does go to court, then I'm going to have to make a decision. I can sell my house to pay for my defense. I don't expect anyone to pay for me or to support me in any way at all. This is my decision, and it's my problem to deal with. If people do end up supporting me, obviously great, but I don't need it, and I'm not asking for it. This isn't about anyone profiteering off this. This is about if you attack someone like Hodler, you're not just attacking Hodler, you're attacking Bitcoin. And that's why everyone came to his defense. And that's why everyone has stood up to him. And that's why the whole community is with him and against Craig Wright and Calvin Ayre. And I think that's a thing of beauty.
And I recognize, I mean, you seem to be pushing and very clear that, this is a determined and righteous action that you want to take to make sure you do defend the legitimacy of Bitcoin, something which, obviously does need defending at this stage, is still prone to a lot of various attacks from all sorts of different directions. But I wonder as well, I mean, you've offered to put your house on the line, but have you or your family received any direct threats that might concern you in terms of your own personal safety?
No, I haven't, and I'm not worried about that. If it comes, I'll deal with it as it happens, but I'm not worried about my personal safety. Or the only thing I have had is people putting up fake stuff and lying about me on Twitter. A guy, this other moron the other day put up yesterday a fake conversation between us where he accused me of something that didn't happen, and the conversation has been proven to be false, and that was shared out by other people. So there is and also I'm aware that there's a narrative now of a group of people who work on BSV who are working on a campaign to discredit a bunch of people who are critics of them. So I've been made aware of that. And this is what I expect. This now becomes a war. People that they feel under attack, and they're going to attack back. But the difference is we're attacking with facts and truth, and they're going to attack with falsities and lies. And that's just the nature of this kind of situation. But I'm fully prepared for it. I'm not worried. If people want to make threats to me, bring it on. Let's have it.
So looking forward, I guess, you're strong, you're determined by your views of what you think is going to happen. I mean, do you think the truth will win out in the end?
Yes, absolutely. The truth's already there. There is only a very small percentage of people who are still being duped by Craig Wright. Okay, pretty much everyone now knows he's a con man, he's a fraud, and he's a moron. And I would like nothing more to go to court and deal with this, because finally we will have it judged in a courtroom that he is a fraud and that he is a liar. That is the best thing that can happen here, because as soon as that happens, he's done. He's finished. But that is the reason why he won't go to court. That is the reason why he's going to bottle it. But I want nothing more than to go to court. So I hope it happens as soon as possible.
All right. And lastly, Peter, just turning to back the key thing itself, obviously the markets themselves and where they're standing. Obviously, in the wake of these delistings coming out, the BSV is down. Bitcoin Cash is up a little bit. What impact do you see this all having on the overall market?
Hopefully Bitcoin SV goes to zero. That's what I would absolutely love to happen. And I think it's a real shame because some people are going to get burned, and that is really sad. But sometimes you have to get wrecked to learn. I've got wrecked myself, and I've learned from it. But I think it's really sad. I hope anybody who's left in BSV sells out as soon as possible, buys into Bitcoin, which is the real Bitcoin and the true Bitcoin that was created by the real Satoshi Nakamoto, not Craig the fraud Wright. And I hope they do that as soon as possible and protect their wealth, because there's only one way for Bitcoin SV to go, and that's down. It is being marginalized, it's being delisted, and it's being discredited as it should be. So it's really sad. And if some people lost money from this, I do feel terrible for them, but they have to realize this is going to happen anyway.
All right, there's Peter McCormack, a man who's ridden the roller coaster of the bull and the bear markets through crypto, now coming out as a staunch defender of the truth in the world of cryptocurrencies. Peter, I wish you all success in your future endeavors and hope everything works out for the best. Host of What Bitcoin Did podcast. You can catch that on all the major podcast platforms. Peter McCormack, thanks so much for joining us on BLOCKTV. And don't forget to stay with us on BLOCKTV. You can catch us online on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or on our website at blocktv.com. I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Thanks for watching.